All right, if you've got a big biology exam on the horizon, this is for you. We're going to break down the direct link between the food you eat and how your brain actually works. Think of this as the ultimate study guide to help you ace that test. Let's dive in. So, let's kick things off with a quick pop quiz. If you could somehow take a human brain and just suck all the water out of it, what do you think would be left behind? Take a second. The answer is probably not what you think. You'd be left with this. Believe it or not, a massive 60% of your brain's dry weight is fat, or lipids as they're known in biology. After that, you've got proteins and then these smaller but super important slices of micronutrients and glucose. This right here, this is basically our curriculum for today. So here's the game plan. We'll start with what your brain is made of. Then we'll get into the specifics on fats, proteins, micronutrients, and carbs. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with the big picture, the brain-diet connection. First up, let's talk about those building blocks. Okay, section 1, what's your brain made of? We just saw the main components, but now we need to understand what they actually do. You know that foggy feeling you get after a big lunch? Yeah, that's not just you being tired. That's your diet talking directly to your brain. Moving on to section 2, fats, the brain's structure. This is huge, because we're starting with the stuff that makes up most of your brain. Fats aren't just some spare energy source. They're literally the physical architecture of your mind. And here's a definition you'll want to highlight in your notes. Lipids, fats, are the primary building material of the brain. They are absolutely crucial for building and maintaining the walls of your brain cells, the cell membranes. Think of them like the bricks and mortar for your entire neural network. But, and this is a big but, not all fats are good for the job. You've got your good fats, the heroes, like omega-3s and omega-6s. You find these in stuff like nuts, seeds, and fatty fish, and they're even linked to preventing serious brain conditions. Then you have the bad guys, trans and saturated fats. Over time, these can actually start to wear down your brain's health. Section 3, proteins, the mood manipulators. So we've got the structure down. Now let's talk about how your brain communicates. This is all about how proteins, and their little building blocks called amino acids, literally pull the strings on how you feel and act every single day. Which brings us to another must-know term for your exam, neurotransmitters. These are basically chemical text messages that fly between your brain cells, or neurons. They're in charge of your mood, your sleep, how focused you are, pretty much the whole shebang. So where do they come from? It's a pretty straightforward 3-step recipe. First, the amino acids from the protein you eat act as the raw ingredients. Then, your brain cells cook these up into neurotransmitters you've probably heard of, like dopamine and serotonin. And finally, those chemicals go to work, managing your mood and keeping you alert. Right, so the key here is balance. If you eat a wide variety of foods, you're giving your brain a full toolkit of amino acids. This helps keep all those chemical messengers in harmony, which is exactly what you need to keep your mood on an even keel. Okay, section 4, micronutrients, the unsung heroes. We've talked about the big players, the fats and proteins. Now it's time to give some love to the small but mighty support crew, all those essential vitamins and minerals. Here's a great way to think about one of the most important groups. Antioxidants, the stuff you get from fruits and veggies? Well, think of them as your brain's personal bodyguards. Their whole job is to hunt down and neutralize these nasty things called free radicals that can damage and destroy your precious brain cells. And if you're taking notes, definitely jot these down. B vitamins like B6, B12, and folic acid are heavy hitters in preventing brain disease. Then you've got minerals like iron, copper, zinc, and sodium. These are just, fundamental for brain health and development. You can't function without them. Section 5, carbohydrates, the brain's fuel. All right, we've got the building materials and the messengers, but none of that works without power. We need energy, and that's where carbs come into play. And get a load of this. Your brain is only about 2% of your body's weight, but it uses a whopping 20% of your body's total energy. It is an incredibly power-hungry organ, just constantly burning fuel. And its favorite type of fuel? Glucose, also known as blood sugar. Our bodies make it by breaking down carbohydrates. Your brain is so dependent on this stuff that when your glucose levels drop, your ability to think clearly is one of the very first things to go. So this is really important. The kind of carb you eat matters a lot. High glycemic carbs like white bread or sugary snacks give you a fast rush of energy, but then you crash. Your blood sugar plummets and your focus and mood go right down with it. On the other hand, Low glycemic carbs, think oats or beans, give you a slow, steady stream of fuel, and that means a much steadier level of attention for studying. And that brings us to our final section, the brain-diet connection. This is where we put it all together. This is the big takeaway, not just for your exam, but, for life. And I think this quote just says it all. When it comes to what you bite, chew, and swallow, your choices have a direct and long-lasting effect on the most powerful organ in your body. It's not just about your waistline, it's about your mind line. So as you're getting ready for that next big exam, I want you to think about this. Your brain is, without a doubt, the most powerful organ you have. The real question isn't just what you're going to study, but how are you going to fuel it to perform at its absolute best?